Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're back to working on the metal planer, and I am getting to the point where we're going to start seeing some things move, hopefully in this episode. So we've got all of our pulleys now set up. They're ready to get this thing belted up, and that is my project today. I have got some belting material. This is some, back in the day they would have used leather belts on this. Leather belts are extremely expensive to buy, and my experience has been is that most of the leather belts that I have seen for sale that are new just really aren't up to the quality standards that I like to see. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of skill and stuff involved in properly making a leather belt, and I don't know, it just seems like the ones you get now, people just don't do right or what have you. So I have pretty much for the last, 20, 30 years, primarily been using this this material here, which is kind of it's a rubber coated canvas material. It works really well, it holds up really well, it grips the pulleys really well, and in some ways I like it better than the leather. The leather is probably superior to this in other ways, but it's pros and cons. Regardless, this is what I'm using. I've got to roll this stuff. This is all 2-inch wide material. Should be enough to do most of my belting on this machine, and if really all of the belting on this machine. And like I said, we're going to be making some belts today and seeing this thing hopefully work under power. So let's get in here and get at it. So sitting up here, I basically got the tools I need to do this lacing job with, and I've actually got more than I need to do here. I want to show you a couple of different options. So first off, you need some lacing, and this is just some brand spanking new lacing. It's just little wires. They have little pinchers on the end, and you basically squeeze this onto the belt and kind of make a wire cage so that a pin will go up. You'll put it on either end. Now, you need to know what size clipper lacing you need. They make different sizes for different size belts. When I say sizes, I mean the thickness of the belts. This is a little card you can order from Clipper, or I think this one came from McMaster-Carr. But if you look on here, they got different size slots for different size belts, and you can take your belt and go along here and find the one that fits. So in this case, it fits that one there. And it tells you that this could be a U2, a 2, a U3-2 is your options for belt hooks. And I've got some 2s, these are number 2s, and that's what we're going to be using. As an example, these are, I'm not sure what size these are, but this is a larger size clip lacing, and you can see that it's too big for this belt. This would be for a much thicker belt. And you can order, again, this stuff from McMaster-Carr or other places like that. You need a lacing tool to actually crimp the parts. This is one that fits in a vise. This is something that's, you can put it in your toolbox, pull it out whenever you need it. You put the lacing down in the comb, I'll show you this in a minute, and then you can just use your vise to squeeze it shut, and it clamps those clamps together. I also have this one down here, it's a little bit fancier version. This is the one I like to use. This is my personal one that I acquired several years ago and restored. But with this one, it does the same thing. It's just got some adjustments, and it's just a little bit easier to use. I'm going to use this one today. I like to have this one if I'm going on site somewhere. I'm going to be going out someplace that I'm going to be working on flat belts. I can bring this one with me as long as they have a vise on site. I can get the job done. So the first thing you need to do, though, is cut your belt square on the end, and again, you can do this several different ways. I got a machine here that does that. It's made by Clipper, or you can just use a square and a good sharp knife or a razor blade and just cut that square. But I'm going to actually use this little gadget here. If you look in there, it's kind of like a guillotine, and you put your belt up against there. You got a fence in the back to make it square. Push down on it, and it just cuts it off nice and square. Got a little bit of material sticking in the bottom, but that's a nice square cut. Makes this job really easy. Next, we'll go over to the lacer, and we'll lace this. Before I do, though, I want to cut off a piece of my clips here. I'm going to cut it kind of between these two. I just take a razor blade. I don't want to take any more than this I need to. This stuff can be aggravating to cut. The lacing or the clips want to just fall out sometimes if you're not careful. but we'll get it over here and then we'll put this into the machine. So if you do a really good job cutting the lacing or the clips, they go in here really nice. I did not do a good job cutting them. I'm probably going to have to put them in here manually one at a time. These little cards are supposed to kind of hold everything in place, but yeah, this is not unusual. I'm gonna get a pair of pliers and I'm gonna put these down in here and we'll go from there. All right, these clips kind of alternate. One will be in one direction and one will be in the other. So if you look, I'm just gonna put it down in there. The one clip is up higher than the other. It's the same clip, they just kind of rotate 180 degrees from one another. Maybe you can see that one there a little bit better. You can see one clip is higher than the other. We're just going to rotate those 90 degrees to one another, and we'll go across and get all these put in. Sometimes I have to use a pair of needle nose pliers to do this. Sometimes I can just reach down there and do it. I think I can reach down there and do it on these. It's a lot easier if you're real careful cutting that card. The card kind of holds them all in the proper position, and you can just drop it right in there and then pull that piece of cardboard off. But these smaller clips, my experience has been is that they can be aggravating, and a lot of times you just have to put them in there like this. No big deal. All right, we have our clips positioned in there, and next thing we'll do is we'll take our little wire pin. There's a hole down here beneath the bottom, and you want to capture all those clips so that that pin is up underneath it. And they're all captured in there now. They won't pull out, and they're properly spaced. They're at the right depth, and from there we'll go ahead and put the belt in and clamp them on there. So we'll just take our belt, put in here, and there's two movements on this jaw. So one tightens up there, and then there's a handle on here that kind of moves these jaws in, and you kind of have to get it set for whichever clips you're using, and you want to get them where they're pressed pretty much flush with the belt itself. It'll be a pretty tight clamp. It's not quite there yet. All right, that's getting close. A little bit tighter. All right, I like that. And then we'll pull our pin out. And we have lacing on one side of our belt. Now let's cut our belt to length and we'll lace the other side. So I got you guys looking up here at the pulleys and everything. You can kind of see where we're at. We're gonna go ahead and start by getting a length on this belt. This will be the drive belt that goes from the motor up to the counter shaft. And I'm just using the belt here as a template. Get it loose down there. And I'm just wrapping it around where it's going to go. Now, this belt is going to be adjustable from the standpoint that I can move this motor mount up and down here and tighten and loosen this pulley. So this one, I've got some wiggle room on the length. You know, I'm just going to get it where it kind of slips up on here. And I've just got the two belts moved up on one another. And I'm just going to take a Sharpie pen and make a mark there. And that'll be my length and my cut. And again, on fixed belts where I don't have the ability to tighten them up by moving something, I usually cut it a little bit on the short side, not a lot, and that just kind of assures me that I get a good, nice tight fit because these belts will stretch to some extent. So let's get down. We'll cut this, put our ends on the other end, and get our first belt on here. So we use our clipper belt cutter to do this. Again, this is a really nice little setup makes this really simple. You could, again, use a square and a razor blade to do the same thing. I'd like to find me one of these belt clippers for my own. Again, I borrowed this one from out at the museum. All right, that one is cut to length, and we'll go ahead and lace the other end of it and put this belt together and have our first belt on and try out that counter shaft. So I was more careful this time keeping these together on the card, and this makes dropping them in here a lot easier. You just drop them all in there together. They're pre-spaced out. Put your pin in, and you can kind of pull this piece of cardboard out, and it's ready to go together. So that's my belt here, and we'll go ahead and clamp these on. All right, that should do it. And the way this works is the two ends come together like such, and you take a pin and just put it in between there to join us together. We'll cut that pin off. Now, back in the day, they used this rawhide type material. It worked extremely well. It's just getting really hard to find this. This is a piece of original stuff, but this is a larger diameter. It actually won't work on this particular size belt lacing. So I'm just going to use this blue wire type stuff. This is a wire material, and you can just clip it off with some wire clippers, and it works just fine. So we will pull this apart. That allows us to take the belt, put it around something, put it back together, and our belt will be installed. Let's go do it. All right, let's get our belt going here. The nice thing about these flat belts, when you have the lacing in here is that you can take your belt apart and get it around pulleys without having to take the pulleys off like you do with an endless belt or a V belt. I'm gonna put those together loose, and then we'll just kind of stretch it onto the pulley here, and then I'm going to tighten up this hole. You see how loose that is? That was making it pretty much exactly even. On one where I didn't have a lot of freeway or leeway, I'd probably cut it about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch shorter, depending on the length of the belt. A really long belt, I might even cut it 1 inch shorter. You don't want to cut it too short. I'd almost rather cut it too long and have to trim it up a second time, and sometimes you have to do that. It's just kind of trial and error. But let me tighten this belt up, and we'll try this thing out. All right, that belt looks nice and tight. I want to just free spin it here. Make sure the alignments look good. They look good. Let's give it a try. See what happens. You ready? Hope that belt don't jump off. Here we go. Look at that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that. You hear the click, 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 click. That's the clipping material that we laced the belt lacing, hitting the pulleys, hitting that metal pulley. It just makes a little click sound. Sounds like music. That's what a line shaft shop sounds like, is that click, click, click. All right, first pulley down. We got 2 more to go on the sides for the drive the table. Go ahead and do those. Let me turn that off. See how long that takes to, yeah, it's turning nice. Bearings look good. If it stopped real fast, that would tell me that I had some tension in there. But this looks real good. That's spinning down real nice. Now, when we get these other ones on here, it'll probably slow down a little bit faster because we'll have a little more resistance on it. But let's move on. We'll get our other 2 belts cut and laced and put on. You've seen the process. The only thing I'll do different on these is when I put them together, I'll probably make the belt cut about 3/4 of an inch shorter than whatever I mark it to be. And that way, that will make sure my belts are good and tight whenever we do there. And again, I may have to put them on here if they're a little bit loose. The way you tighten these up is you just cut one end of the lacing off and make the belt just a little bit shorter, put new lacing in there, and put them back together. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, guys, been a frustrating afternoon. Things did not go as planned. So let me tell you what's going on. I got my belts on. Good news is that the belts are working great. Bad news is that I realize now that I've got my pulleys on the wrong side. So right now the drive pulley is on this side, so the pulley that's pulling the work into the cutter is on this side, and the reverse pulley that pulls the table out is on the other side. And because of the way the belt shifters work on this, I need to have them swapped. They need to be on the other side. And I put them on. I realized things were not running correctly. And so I said, well, all I need to do is just change my half twist in my belt, reverse the direction, everything will be fine. Did that, realized, no, it's not going to work. I have got to have my pulleys swapped from the order that they're in right now. And if you guys remember, I actually had them on this way to begin with. But I swapped them because of the size of the other pulley on the other side is a big pulley, and the belts were going to interfere with all this stuff right here. And so I swapped them thinking that, okay, no problem. I wasn't thinking things all the way through. I didn't have all the mechanisms worked out in my mind. And I realize now, okay, no, we got to swap them back. So that comes with some challenges. So let me bring over here and show you what the challenge is. So here's the deal. You got this pulley up here. This pulley is what? About 11 inches in diameter. The pulley on the other side is 23 inches in diameter, so almost twice that diameter, so about like that. And you can see over here, hopefully you can see that the pulleys, the belts are gonna hit this gear work going down to the ones below. So in order to fix that, what I'm going to have to do is move my countershaft backwards on here to actually move this back. It'll change the angle of everything. Of course, it's going to change all my belt lengths. It's going to make them longer, which means I'm going to have to redo my belts to make all that work. No big deal. I'm going to have to come up with a plan on doing this. Probably, I'm not going to redo these brackets. I'm probably just going to bolt an extension to the top of these that comes back. I need to figure out exactly how far back they need to go. I think I can move them back about 6 or 8 inches, and I'm going to be fine. So we'll have to put an extension plate on this and just move everything back. Poor planning, didn't think it out like I should have early on. It's one of those things that's hard to really think about how this is going to go together. In my mind, it was going to work, but in reality, we're going to have to make some modifications. We're going to make it work, though. So let me get to work on that. I got to do some figuring up, get my metal ordered, and rework all that. Not a huge deal, but still a setback and something to be. I was planning on hopefully having this thing running today, and that's not going to be a reality now. So, one other problem, and let me show you that one. So down here on the side of the table, I've got 2 stops. This adjusts the length of my stroke, and we got this piece here that moves back and forth, and that's what moves the belt shifters. That moves the belts around to basically go from forward to backwards. Well, when I powered this thing up a while ago for the first time, the table moved just like it needed to. It went to one side, it went to the back side here, and it was moving slow because I basically had it moving in the reverse direction from what it needed to be. It hit this dog, trigged forward, moved the belts, started moving rapidly forward, and this piece up here is not made to be hit at that speed. When it did, it broke. Now, in defense, I can look in here. Let me zoom in and show you this. So look at this. If you look at the broke casting, you see this stain here and on this side right here. This piece was already cracked. It had a hairline fracture in there. That change in color was where the oil has absorbed up into this over time, and it's changed the color. So it was already partially broken, and in reality, this little mishap may be a blessing in disguise, because this was going to fail at some point in time. And by me going ahead and having it fail now, I realized that before I was into an important job where it would have gone and tripped and the table would have flown away on me potentially, and who knows what might have happened. So gonna have to fix this, and we'll do a video on fixing this. I've kind of got a plan. I need to think about it a little bit more, but I've kind of got a plan on how we're gonna fix this and do a good repair on it, but I won't go into all that right now. But I'm probably going to repair this part instead of trying to cast a new piece. Worst case, we can always make a pattern and cast a new one, but I think we can repair it just fine. And like I said, we'll do a separate video on that down the road. So, yeah, frustrating. I'm not going to call it a disaster, but it was not as planned. And like I said, we're going to have to make some modifications to things to get everything where to work just fine. But guys, I think we are still close. I got to see, you guys didn't because I didn't have the camera running, I did get to see the table move under its own power, although the speeds were reverse of what they needed to be. But it looked like that part was working great. We just need to get the belt shifting and all that, and the belts on the right side, and so on and so on and so on. Frustrating, not the greatest day in the world, but it could be a whole lot worse. So with that, guys, that is going to be, I think, a wrap on this episode. I'm going to go back to the drawing board here and do a little bit of thinking. Like I said, I've got an idea how I'm going to attack both of these problems, but I need to think about it, probably sleep on it overnight, and we'll get on it. And we're still close, guys, to getting this planer running, but we're just not quite there yet, unfortunately. So guys, that will be a wrap. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thumbs up and comments are appreciated. Hit the bell icon to get notifications. And with that, guys, I'm going to sign off. Again, thank you for watching.